Hello, good evening, everyone. I believe I can be heard. You can hear me, just send a comment that you can hear me. So I proceed with what we have for today. Hello. All right. Yes, so I believe I can be heard. That's wonderful. Yes. Thank you very much once again for joining today's session. And yes, once again, my name is Gwatinimpi, and I'm here to continue with the virtual AI and machine learning training organized by the College Caucus in collaboration with GAD Academy and in partnership with Build It. Yeah, so today we are going to talk about loops and functions. These are two topics in Python that are very, very important. So I would want you all to pay close attention to whatever I'm about to teach because it's really going to help you in the long run. All right, yeah, so we are starting with loops today. Yes, and when we talk about loops, loops in Python let you repeat a block of code multiple times, saving time and effort for repetitive tasks. So imagine needing to print numbers 1 to 5 manually. Loops automate this, right? Yeah, so the main thing we are trying to talk about is try and analyze loops as sometimes you'd want to take up repetitive tasks, right? You'd want to do something that is repetitive. So let's say you want to print all living numbers from zero between 0 and 100, right? If you have to do this, it's either you do it manually or you automate it, right? Yes, and loops gives you that functionality to do that, as simple as ABCD. Another example is, let's say you are being punished by your teacher to download 1,000 images of a particular thing. And actually, if you have to sit down to do this, if you have to sit down to analyze, come up with a strategy to use so that you can download the 1,000 images at once, you can actually automate it using loops. Right? So loops gives you the functionality where you can do repetitive tasks or you can repeat a block of code multiple times so that it would help you perform a repetitive task, saving you a lot of time. Right? So that is what loops is about. Yes, we have types of loops. We have the for loop and we have the while loop. So these are the types of loops we have. Right? So for loop repeats over a sequence like ls or range, and while loops repeats while a condition is true. Yeah, so we are going to take the two types of loops and we are going to digest it in such a way that we know when to apply for loop and we know when to use while loop. Yes. Now, I believe that I taught you guys conditional statements, control flow, if else, and elif. I taught you guys how to do that, right? So we are really going to apply that concept here. So please do well to pay close attention to whatever I am about to do. right? Now the other thing is that you would have to also know the indentation. When I was teaching you conditional statement, I told you that Python uses 4 spaces to group code that belongs to a loop. Yes, good. And then we are going to proceed with the for loop. Right. So just like I said, a for loop iterates over a sequence. It iterates over a sequence like a list, executing the same code for each item. So that is what is special about the for loop. The for loop iterates over a sequence. So it iterates over a sequence like a list. You get it? Executing the same code for each item. Now, let's say we are to define a list, right? Let's say we are to define a list of numbers. So numbers is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've created a list. Now we want to use a for loop to iterate over each item in the numbers list. Do you get it? We want to iterate. When we say iterate, it's more like we want to move through every element. Do you get it? Good. So for us to create a for loop, you are going to start with the keyword for in small letters. Realize that once you do this, it changes to green. Do you get it? Now, whenever you are creating a for loop, it is very simple. You start with the for keyword. So the keyword, you start with the keyword, then you now proceed with the variable. So proceed with the variable, and then the Python keyword in. So this is a Python keyword. So the Python keyword in, and then the sequence. So you realize that I told you that the for loop iterates over a sequence. In this case, which sequence are we going to iterate over? We are going to iterate over a list. So here you would put the variable name of the list. Do you get it? Good. So what keyword are we using? We are using the for loop. So for. Now the variable, it depends on you. You can create any variable. We can use num, or we can use x, or we can use y. So here is any variable. So for, let's say for x, let's use x. For x, then you proceed with the Python keyword. For x in, then you bring the sequence. The sequence is what? This. The list is called numbers. So for sequence, for x in numbers. Do you get it? Once you do this, you've done the statements for the for loop. Then you bring your colon. So that is what we are going to do here. It is that simple. Right? So for x in numbers, then you bring your colon. As soon as you bring your colon and you hit enter, it will automatically indent everything for you. Do you get it? It will automatically indent everything for you, as simple as ABCD. So what is the next thing? We are trying to say that we just want to create a for loop that would iterate over the elements in this list and print them. Do you get it? So for x in numbers, print x. Now when you run this, look at our output. The for loop would iterate over each and every element in the sequence in this list. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then what? Print it out. You get it? You can even do something like print x plus 3. So what happens is that it will iterate over. Let me quickly clean this and explain what this is doing for you. So what this is trying to do is that the for loop would iterate over every element in this list. So first, it will move to 1, it will move to 2, it will move to 3, it will move to what? 4, it will move to what? 5. This is what this statement will do. This statement would make this, it will create a loop that would iterate over every element in the numbers list. Now, once it's done, it will move on to the next line of code. The next line of code is saying that print the variable, this x. Now, as soon as you are done iterating, all the iterations you get will be attached to x. Do you get it? So we are saying for x in numbers. So now x will be these elements. Do you get it? So you say that for x in numbers, print x plus 3. So the next thing that we'll do is that when the for loop gets to 1, it will pick 1 and it will add 3 to it. That is why you have 4 here. Now it is done with the first code. It will now repeat the code again. So it will go to 2 and it will add 3 to it, making it what? 5. Then that iteration is complete. Then it will now repeat it again. It will go to 3, add 3 to it, and then the code is complete. And then it will iterate again. It will go to 4 and add 3 to it, making it 7. Then it will iterate again. It will go to 5 and add 3 to it, making it what? 8. This is what a for loop does. You get it? So in a case where you have a manual task where you realize that it is repetitive, you can actually use the for loop to iterate over that sequence and get things done quickly. So that is what the for loop will do for you, right? Yeah, so that is the basic explanation when it comes to for loop. You can even get to a stage where you would have to add conditional statements under the for loop, right? I think we'll try an example like that later on, but then that is what the for loop does for you. Now I'm going to explain what the while loop will do, then we take it from there. So take note that the for loop would iterate over a sequence. Please take note, over a sequence. Which sequence do you have? You have a list, right? You can even have a range of numbers, right? So any type of sequence you have, the for loop would iterate over each element in the sequence and perform an operation on it. So that's what the for loop will do for you. Now we also have the while loop. What does the while loop do? It is very simple. Now a while loop keeps running as long as its condition is true, like a game that continues until a score is reached. So that is what a while loop does. So while loop is more like there's a situation where you have a condition. It's either the condition is true or the condition is false. So what while loop will do is that if the condition is true, keep on running until the condition becomes false. So that is what a while loop will do for you, as simple as ABCD. So we are going to create a simple example, then we explain it in, out, center, backward, sideways, anywhere. I like this topic. Now let's continue. So let's say I set a variable count. Count is equal to 1, right? And I want to create a while loop. And this while loop, I'm going to give a condition. I'm going to give a condition that if the count is less than 5, if the variable count is less than 5, do something for me. Do you get it? So realize that here we have a condition. Do you get it? So we bring in the while loop. So it is that simple. The method is very simple when you are coming up with a while statement. It is very, very simple. The while statement is simple. Bring the while keyword. So the while keyword, then you proceed with the what? The condition. Bring a colon. As simple as that. So this is going to be something very simple. And I'll just say while, what is the condition? Count is less than or equal to 5, colon. So I've brought my while keyword and I've set the condition. So let me quickly bring that to you. So this is the condition, and this is the keyword. Take note of that. As simple as ABCD, right? Good. So the next thing we have is that if this condition is true, then do something for me. If this condition is true, then do something for me. What are you going to do? I'm going to say that while count is less than or equal to 5, print count. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. You see that it will print 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It will print, it will print a lot. The code will never stop. You see, it is still running. You can see this asterisk. It means that the code is still running. It can run infinite times. It can run, and run, even to a point that your browser can start slowing down, or your PC can start slowing down, because the condition is true. You get it? So it will keep on running. That is why we say that a while loop keeps running as long as its condition is true. The condition is true because count is the variable here. The variable here is 1, which is less than or equal to 5. So that it will keep on running unless I decide to stop it. Now, when you want to stop this, just come here and click a stop. You see how the PC is slowing down? Hey, God should help us. I can't even see what's going on. All right. You can see it is still loading here. It is still loading and it is still running. From practical demonstration to problem. I'm going to cause a problem. Let me quickly stop this. My PC has started slowing down. Interesting. Um, Let me see if I can work with the kernel. Which of this kernel? WebSocket closed. Okay, let me check this one out. It's up. Desktop. Let me close this one too. And let's see what I have here. Okay, so when we check the kernel, we can see starting buffering for blah blah. You see, there's a problem. So it's either I decide to, you can now see that they are saying that this page isn't responding. It is not responding because I decided to do something that is infinite. It will keep on running. If you don't take care, you can end up crashing your machine. So the best thing I can do now is to close the kernel. Right? As soon as I close the kernel and close this, everything will now be okay. So I would have to launch Jupyter Notebook again to proceed with what I was doing. So the best thing to do is, please don't, when you get to this point, I know some of you would end up in a problem, but you can always click on the stop. Yeah, you can always click on the stop icon on Jupyter Notebook, and that particular cell will stop. Yes, so I'm launching Jupyter Notebook again. Then we proceed with what we have. Let me quickly launch this. Okay, so we can proceed with what we were doing real quick. Right. Sorry for everything. And I believe that this alone would make you understand what a while loop is. So the while loop would keep on running when a condition is true. So until it becomes false, it would never stop. So please take note of that. Yes, okay. All right, all right. So we can proceed with where, yes, we can proceed with what we were doing. Now you all realize that when we're working with this, it kept on printing one because the condition was true and it never stopped. So this is what we are going to do. Realize that I told you that Python runs code line by line. So what happens is that if this particular code is running, first, because it is a while loop, it will what? While loop is like something like this. A loop is something like this. So it will keep on moving infinite times. Do you get it? So what happens is that because we have a variable here, this while condition would set this to a while loop. Do you get it? So when it gets here, it will go back to count this variable and check if the condition is true. That is, if the condition is less than or equal to 5. If it is less than or equal to 5, it will proceed to the next line. Do you get it? So it will print count. Do you get it? Now, we are going to do something. We are going to increase the count variable by 1. So we are going to add an increment of 1 using the plus equal to operator. I taught you guys the minus equal to operator and the plus equal to operator. So I told you that when you have, let's say, count is equal to 1, count plus equal to 1 is the same as count is equal to count plus 1. So because we don't want to repeat this count variable, we can just set it to count plus equal to 1. Do you get it? Good. So what happens is that when it checks if the condition is if count is less than or equal to 5, it will first print it and now it will move to the next condition. So what is the next condition? The next condition is that we want to add count plus equal to 1. So what happens is that because this entire thing is a block of code, it's a block of code. What happens is that the entire block of code would have to execute before it stops. So we realize that this count is part of the indentation. So it means that it is also part of the block of code. So what happens is that first, the whole loop would check if the count variable is less than or equal to 5. If it is less than or equal to 5, it will move on to the next line of code, which is print count. So if it is less than or equal to 5, it will print the count. Then it will now move on to the next line of code. Now the next line of code is telling you to add 1 to the count variable. So in this case, when you get to this point, because we started from 1, the new count variable will now be set to 2 because this line of code tells you to add count to 1. So count at this point, count was what? 1. So to add 1 to 1, which will give you what? 2. So next time, when it is coming back to count, it will not be equal to 1. It will now be equal to 2. Do you get it? Then it will now check the condition again. Let me change the so that you guys get what I'm trying to say. All right. Let me just maintain it like that. Okay. Um. All right. I don't know why this thing is trying to go, but let me quickly search something. Um, my writer is trying to fool. Let me quickly do a quick research to solve this issue. Um, uh, okay. Let me try out this. Let's see if it would work. If it doesn't work, only God will know. Only God will knows. Okay. Thank God, I finally solved the issue. The devil is a liar. We can now continue with what we have. Good. Good, 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 good. All right. So just like I was saying, we have counts to be equal to 1. So what happens is that, allow me to explain it again so that you guys will get it very well. So what I'm trying to say is that the first thing that this will do is that we are saying that a while loop keeps running as long as its condition is true. So what happens is that here it will check. This is a block of code. This is a block. This is a block of code. A block of, let's say, code, right? Now what happens is that first it will check. It will check. Now count was initialized and set to 1. So what happens is that is 1 less than or equal to 5. That is true. So it will move on to the next line. The next line says print count. So it would first print count, which is what? 1. And it will now move on to the next line of code, which is count plus equal to 1. And I told you that count plus equal to 1 is the same as count is equal to count plus 1, where count is the variable. So because we don't want to repeat the variable name count, we just use plus equal to simplify it, as simple as ABCD. So here, count is equal to count plus 1 will now be the first value that we're using, which is 1. So 1 plus 1. So now count will be set to what? 2. Do you get it? Then to now come back to the loop again and then continue. So a loop is more like something like this. Think of it as something like this. It will keep on moving infinite to an infinite point. Do you get it? So now is 2 less than or equal to 5? Yes, it is true. So it will move on to the next line. So it will now print, to first it will print 1. It will now print what? 2. And it will add count plus equal to 1. So it will be equal to what? 2 plus 1, which is now what? 3. Do you get it? So now count has been set to 3. Now, is 3 less than or equal to 5? Yes, 3 is less than or equal to 5. So it will move on. Print count. It will now print count, which is what? 3. Do you get it? And it will now move on to the next line of code, which is count plus equal to 1, which is 3 plus 1. which is what? 4. Now, it will come back to the first line. Is 4 less than or equal to 5? Yes, that is true. So it will move on to the next line, which is print count. So it will now print 4. Do you get it? And now it will move on to the next line, which is count plus equal to 1. So here we are going to have 4 plus 1, which is now what? 5. So now count, the variable count has now been set to 5. Is 5, then it will come back. Is 5 less than or equal to 5? That is true, because 5 is less than or equal to 5. It is true. So it will continue to this point. Print count. So it will now print count. 1, 2, 3, 4. It will now print 5. And it will come here. Now, 5 plus 1 is equal to what? 6. Now, is 6, when you come back to the condition, is 6 less than or equal to 5? No, it is false. So at this point, the while loop would stop. Do you get it? So a while loop would keep on running as long as its condition is true. So let's run this code and let's see what happens. Realize that it will print 1. You can see the outputs. It will print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As simple as that. So that is what a while loop would do. A while loop would print or would continue running until a condition becomes what? False. Yes, that is what a while loop is. Now let's proceed with the next concept, which is the next concept we are going to talk about is nested loops. Now, nested loops are loops inside loops, and it is useful for working with 2D data like a grid or a table. So I've already explained what nesting is. So when you hear the word nested, or let's say to nest something in another thing, it's more like you putting that particular thing in the other thing, right? Good. So that is what nesting means, or yeah, that is what it means. So when you hear nested loops, it means loops that are found in other loops. You get it? Good. So we are going to start with an example, and the example is very simple. What we are going to do is that we are going to create a for loop, and then we'll add another loop inside it. We are going to add another for loop inside the for loop we have, making it a nested loop, right? So we are going to look at with this particular example, we are going to look at the range function. Yes, we are going to look at the range function. So the range function is a very simple function. If I tell you to give me the values in a particular range, I believe you all understand it, right? So in Python, the range function is simple. In small letters, range, open and close brackets. You get it. Then you put your values in it. So we are going to work with this particular function in this part of the course. Yeah. So we are going to create a for loop which says that for row in range of 3. Now, before I explain this, let me bring a column. Before I explain this, let me quickly explain something to you, what the range function does for you. So range 0 to, let's see, 10. So let's say x is equal to range 0 to 10. Print x. Okay, I'm coming. Let me try something else. For num in x, print num. Okay, now what this will do is that the range function, I just wanted to explain what the range function does for you. Now, when you have a range, so let's say when you create a range of 0 to 5, what happens is that it would give you all the values starting from 0. So the 0 is a starting point, so inclusive starting point, and the 5 is exclusive. The 5 is exclusive. So it will list all the values from 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 4 for you. Do you get it? So with this one, I just created a variable called x and I set it to a range from 0 to what? 10. So ideally, it's supposed to give me values like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9. Do you get it? So I wanted to show you guys how I can print out the values for you. So I said that because this is also a sequence, that is why I used the for loop. So I'm saying that for num, I just set any variable. So for num in this sequence range, print num. That is why I printed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You get it? So the range function, what it does is that the first value is inclusive, but then the second value is exclusive. Now let's try this. Let's use just one value. So range of 5. Let's print it out. So it will also do the same thing. Do you get it? So here it would assume that the starting point is 0. So it will print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is what the range function will do for you. Good. Now we are going to do something very, very interesting here. We are going to do something very, very interesting here. Now the for loop we created here, we said that for row in range 3. Now, what this statement does is that it will start a for loop using a range 3 to generate numbers 0, 1, and 2. Do you get it? Now, let me set another statement which says that for call a short form for column. So for column in range 3, print. Don't worry, I'll explain this to you. Let me use f string. I believe I explained what f string is to you guys. Print f row and then call. Okay, let me close this. Now look at this very well. So this particular code, what it is doing is that the first statement is saying for row in range of 3. So range 3 actually gives me these values 0, 1, and 2. Do you get it? So it is done with this particular statement. And now moves on to another statement which says that yeah, sorry, let's continue. I was a bit distracted. So what the next thing to do is that we have another statement which says that for column in range of 3. So what happens is that this is what this would do. This is what would happen. This for column in range of 3 will now iterate over this sequence. Do you get it? So it's like this statement will create its first sequence of what? 0, 1, and 2. Now, this statement will now iterate over this sequence. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because it's saying that for column in range of 3. Now, print f. Now, I told you that f strings gives you the functionality where you can embed variables, where you can embed variables in a string for you to work with them. Do you get it? So here, the row here is a variable. This was a variable. And the call here is also a variable. Do you get it? So what would happen is that it would print the value row here, and it will print the value column here. Do you get it? But then let's try and put it in the form of coordinates. So let's wrap brackets. Let's put brackets in it. Note that it is in the quotes, so it would be analyzed as a string. So when you print this, look at what happens. Look at what happens. So the first value you get is 0, 0. So what happens is that at first, at this particular stage, for row in range of 3, so this is the range. For call in range of 3, so it will now iterate over this. Print row and column. So it will first pick the first value. The first value is 0 for row. Now, for column 2, when it iterates over the first element, it will also be what? 0. So this is what you get for the first one. Now, when they are done, it will move on to the next. It will move on to the next value, which is 1. Now, for row in range, we are now at 1. So it will now print 1. And then here is also saying for call in range. So in the call in range, this particular statement is also at this stage, 1. So we'll have what? 1, 1. As simple as that. Do you get it? It will now move on to 2, and then the process remains. Now, when it gets to 3, 3 is not part of this sequence. So the execution would stop, because at that particular point, the condition becomes what? False. So that is how the for loop works, right? Yeah, so let's see what we have. Oh, I think I made a mistake. Sorry, I made a mistake at some point. Let me analyze the code well. For row in range, okay. Sorry. Let me explain this more for you. So what happens is that this would create the value 0, 1, 2. Do you get it? Now, this call will now iterate over this. So if the first value is 0, right, for this particular statement, if the first value is 0, the call value, this particular statement, will also iterate over everything here. That is what I forgot. It will iterate over everything here. So it will now pick 0 and will now print it. So 0, 0, in brackets. And then it will not come back, because it will not be done. It will now come back to 0 to what? 1. Do you get it? Until this particular side is done. Until this particular iteration is done. Let me check if I unmuted myself. Yes, I did unmute myself. Thank God. All right, so that is what it is doing. So it will now proceed to the next value, which is 2, because this particular statement is iterating over the first statement, what it caused it to do. Do you get it? So it will now move on to what? 0, 2. Then it will be done. Now, once that is done, it means that this particular side has been worked on. Now it will now move back to the original statement. Now in the original statement, it will now get to which number? The number 1. Now when it gets to 1, it will now come back to the next line of code, which is this one. Now this line of code says that iterate over every element here. So it will now start from what? 0. Then it will print it. Now it will come back again. So 1 again. At this point, this particular stage, you're at stage 1. Do you get it? But this particular stage will now move on to the next iteration, which is what? 1. Then it will come back again. 1 still remaining there. This stage will now move on to what? 2. And that will be done. So if you check this thing very well, you realize that it actually printed 000102, and now it came back to 1101112. Then to now go back to what? The last value, which is 2. So it will now start from 202122. That is what it will do for you. So realize that the process looks a bit simple, but if you don't analyze it very well, you would end up making mistakes, right? Yeah. So sorry for that part. I was a bit distracted, so I didn't pay attention closely. So this is what a nested loop does for you. There are more applications. I would give you more exercises for you guys to try your hands on, because loops, if you are able to have a condition and you want to make repetitions, you can use the for loop and the while loop. And in some cases, you can what? Nest it. You can create a nested, right? So this thing too, we can repeat it. So we can add for, so let's say we want to do 3 cardinal points. Let's say we want to work with we want to work with we want to work with x, y, and z. So we want to work with x, y, and z. So in this case, we can set this to, rather than using rule, we can use x. So x for column in, so for y, and we can set another for statements for z in range of 3, column, print x, comma, y, print x in small letters, x, colon, z. Okay. All right. So when you run this, what are we getting? The indentation is wrong. Yes, the indentation is wrong because right after this colon, it has to give a new indentation. So we have to bring this under there. You get it? That's why indentation is very important. Good. So when you print this, you can see your output, right? So you guys can also sit down to analyze how this works, and everything will be fine. Right now, when we're explaining control statements, I didn't bring a concept. Then the concepts, there are control statements like break and continue. So control statements like break and continue lets you modify how loops behave, either by stopping early or skipping steps. You get it? So you see, sometimes when I told you that loops, it will continue running, it will continue executing. You get it? So what you would have to do is that you would have to find a way to bring in some statements to modify how the loops would behave, right? And some of these statements, we have the break and then the continue. So we are going to start this. We are going to use an example to explain. Then we see how best we can explain the break and continue statement when it comes to working with loops, right? So let's create a for loop and let's give it for, let's say, I, a variable. We are using the variable I. So for I in range 10, colon. Now we are going to, I told you that within a for loop you can bring a condition, right? We can bring a condition. The condition is we are bringing an if condition, and we are saying that if I, which is the variable here, if I is equal to 5. I told you that in conditions, when you want to use equal to, use the double equal to operator. Good. So what we are saying is that if I is equal to 5, colon, break. You get it? Now we are going to do something very, very interesting. Now you know that actually when I hit enter, the indentation continues. The indentation will continue. If anything I write under here would be part of this if statement, because this indentation says that anything following this statement should fall under the if execution. Do you get it? Now I want to create a loop, right? And what I want to do is that I want to print all the values which are in the range from 0 to 10. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But then if the variable gets to 5, it should break. Do you get it? Now the break statement stops the loop completely. That is what I want to do. So I want to iterate over the values from the range 0 to 10, but then I want to break when I is equal to 5. Do you get it? So in this case, if you bring the print here, if you bring the print I here, it would worry you, because when you bring the print I here, it is trying to tell you that the print I falls under the if statement because it falls under its indentation. Do you get it? So let's bring the print I on the same indentation, with the same indentation as the if statement. So what happens is that, all right, let me quickly explain this. So what happens is that this statement will create the value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it is saying that if, so the next line of code, if I is equal to 5, so as soon as I gets to 5, it will what? Break. So this condition is creating a system where the loop would stop completely as soon as I gets to 5. Do you get it? Now you realize that this if statement and this print statement is on the same line. So it would execute at the same time because they are on the same indentation. So what happens is that it would iterate over every element here from 0 to 9. Do you get it? And it will print them. So it will print 0. And it will check, is I equal to 5? No. Then it will print 1. Is I equal to 5? Then it will print 2, 3, 4. But as soon as I gets to 5, it will stop the loop completely. So let's try and run this and see what happens. So you realize that your output will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because this was saying that just like I said, the operation runs at the same time. The operation runs at the same time. Do you get it? So while it is printing I, it is also checking if I is equal to 5. So as soon as I gets to 5, it will stop the loop completely. Do you get it? Good. So that is one interesting application of the for loops and conditional statements. Do you get it? Or let's say conditional statement and control statements. Right? Good. Let's take this. This is a very, very interesting concept, and I believe that you guys really have to understand it. Right? Good. So even with this, you can use it for a password. You see, sometimes passwords, your phone, your pin, you have to try. Let's say you can set it to a maximum of 4. So you try. If you get to the 4th trial, it will break the loop. You get it, and then it will tell you that you have to try in the next, let's say, 5 minutes or 30 seconds or something, or 1 minute or something. You get it. So these are all applications you can look at. Right? Let's work with another example so you guys will understand what I'm trying to say very well. So the next example is the next example. Let me add one cell below. Yeah. So we are going to create for x in range of, let's say, 10 colon. Now this is what we are going to do. We are going to check if x is even, and I told you how to check, how to work with even numbers. You can use the modulo, the modulo operator, which is the percentage operator. So if x modulus 2 is equal to 0, because when you divide any number by 2 and you get 0, and you get when you divide any number by 2 and you get a remainder of 0, it means that the number is an even number. You get it? So if x modulus 2 is equal to 0, continue. Now I would bring a print statement outside, because you see, continue, when you hit it, is the indentation is still under the if statement. But then I just hit backspace and print x. So let's see what this code is doing. Now this code is telling you to do something very, very interesting, and it is saying that because I have because I have the if statement and the print statement at the same indentation, it is going to execute at the same time. So now, this for statement creates a range from 0 to 9. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, at the same time, we are printing X. But then at that same time, we are also doing something. So it's like we are doing two things at the same time. Do you get it? So while we are printing X, we are checking if it is what? An even number. Because this code creates a system where you are working with what? Even numbers. Do you get it? Now, this is how it's going to work. We are going to start from 0. Because I told you that the for loop iterates over every element in a sequence. So now let's take 0. Now, is 0 modulus 2 equal to 0? Is 0 an even number? Is 0 an even number? If you divide 0 by 2, what do you get? If you divide 0 by 2, let's quickly try it out. I don't make a silly mistake. Okay, let me try it out. 0 divided by 2. Escape M. Why is this code changing as markdown? Let me change it to a code. Alright. It's equal to 0.00. Let's print this and let's see what happens. But then 1 is not appearing. Now, the reason is that if you divide 0, if you divide 0 by 2, it is actually equal to 0. But then modulus is more like working with remainders. Do you get it? So when you divide 2 by 2, what is the answer? The answer is 1. Remember what? 0. Do you get it? So that is why it doesn't really consider it. But then let me explain this in a different approach for you so that you guys would understand it very well. Now, this continual keyword, the continuous statements will skip the rest of the iteration. Do you get it? Now, realize that when I was explaining the break, I told you that the break statement will stop the loop completely. Do you get it? So here, because you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what happens is that the continuous statement would skip the the continuous statement would skip the iteration. Right? So here, 0 modulus 2 gives me what? 0. So it will skip. And it will now move on to the next one. 1 modulus 2, is it equal to 0? 1 modulus 2, is it equal to 0? No, it is not equal to 0. So it would print it. That is why you have 1 here. It will now move on to 2. 2 modulus 2 is equal to 0. You get it? So here the continuous statement actually tells you to skip. Do you get it? It will tell you to skip. So in a state where this one is true, just like we told you that the if statement executes if it is true. So if this is true, skip it. So that is what the continual keyword is doing for you. So it realize that it will skip 0 and move to what? 1. It will skip 2 because 2 modulus 2 is 0. And to print 3 because 3 modulus 2 is not equal to 0. Now when it gets to 4, it will skip 4 because 4 modulus 2 is equal to what? 0. It will skip 4 and move to 5 because 5 modulus 2 is not equal to 0. So this is what the continuous statement does for you. The continuous statement skips the rest of the iteration. Do you get it? That is why we have an output of 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. I nearly got confused. Let's quickly do a research and see if 0 is an even number. Let's see something. Is 0 an even number? Is 0 an even number? When 0 is divided by 2, the resulting quotient turns out to also be 0, an integer, thereby classifying it as an even number. Though many are quick to denounce 0 as not a number at all, some quick arithmetic clears up this confusion. I think you guys can read about it. But then I was taught that 0 is not an even number. But then, even in this case, we are not really considering the fact that it is an even number. The only thing we are just considering is the remainder of 0. When I divide 0 by 2, I get 0 of the remainder of 0. That is why it doesn't, I mean, you guys can research about it. There is no time to consider that, right? So, we've done quite a lot. And then I have a practical example that I would want you guys to try. I actually want to explain it here, but then let's do it. Let's do it. So let us use a loop to calculate the sum of even numbers from 0 to 10, combining loops and conditionals. So this is a very simple example that we can try our hands on. Yes, this is a very simple example we can try our hands on. So let's say we set number to be equal to 0. Right now, we are going to create a loop, and then what we are going to do is we are going to calculate the sum of even numbers. Take note of that, from 1 to 10. So if you want values from 1 to 10, then you basically have to create a range from 1 to 11, because I told you that the 11 is exclusive, so it would end at 10. Do you get it? So let's say for x in range, for let me use num, or okay, let me set this to, let me rather use total here. So let me use total here, and let me use num here to make things, yes. So for num in range of 1 to 11, colon. Now, the first thing that we have to do is that this particular statement creates a range of values from 1 to 10. Do you get it? Now, we would have to check if the number is even using the modulo operator. Do you get it? So if num modulo if num modulo 2 is equal to 0, if this condition is true, then we have to what? Add up. So you see, the thing is that we are creating a loop to calculate the sum of even numbers. The sum of even numbers from 1 to 10. So we can now set the variable total plus equal to num. Total plus equal to num. Okay, now let me print using string. I'll explain the code to you so you guys get it. Sum of even numbers from 1 to 10 is total. No, let me close this. All right, so let me explain this code to you. It is a very, very simple code. Now, what it is saying is that create a loop to calculate the sum of even numbers from 1 to 10. So actually, this is what we are trying to do. This would create this particular statement will create the range of values from 1 to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, how many even numbers do we have here? We have 2, we have 4, we have 6, and we have 8. So we want to create a loop to calculate the sum of even numbers from 1 to 10. Now, let me quickly run. Oh, why did I? Let me quickly run this to you and explain something to you. Right, good. So realize that the output was 30. Do you get it? So what this code is doing is that it's going to add all the even numbers within the range. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 6 is what? 12. 12 plus 8 is what? 12 plus 8 is 20. And then 12 plus 10 is what? 30. So we are creating a loop which is going to sum up all the even numbers from the range of what? 1 to 10. You get it? So let me explain what this code is doing. First, we set a variable total to be equal to 0. So if for now you don't consider that, just remove your mind on it from it. Now we are saying that for num in range 1 to 11, this particular statement would create this list of variables. So 1, 2, up to 10. Now, we are saying that because Python executes code line by line, what happens is that it will move on to the next line, which says that if num is the element, is the variables in this range. So if num modulo 2 is equal to 0, if this is true, move on to the next line of code, because this code is found under this indentation. You get it? So if this condition is true, then do this. Now, total plus equal to num is the same as total is equal to total plus num. I told you how the plus equal to operator works. Because we don't want to repeat the total key variable, we do it total plus equal to num. So what it will do is that because this is the same as total is equal to total plus num, what would happen is that it will first take the total value, which is 0, and it will add it to num. So num. Good. So here, when it gets to, let me change it to blue so that you guys will understand. When it gets to 1, is 1 modulo 2 equal to 0? No. So it is false. So this particular statement would not execute because it is false. We told you that the if statement would only execute if the condition is true. Do you get it? So it will skip to the next line. The next line, we have an element of 2. Is 2 modulo 2 equal to 0? Yes. 2 modulo 2 is equal to 0. So it will now add the total. It will now add the value. It will now add total to num. So do you get it? So now your total value will now be equal to 2. The total value will now be set to what? 2. Do you get it? Now it will come back to this statement and execute. 3. Is 3 modulo 2 equal to 0? No, it is false. So the condition will not execute. It will now move on to 4. Is 4 modulo 2 equal to 0? Yes. The statement is true. So this side is true. So it will move on to the next line. Total plus equal to num. Now, the first iteration that was valid, we had the total to be equal to what? 2, because 2 plus 0 was what? 2 plus the initial value. This 2 plus the initial value gave us 2. So now total has now been set to 2. So this 2 will now be added to the 4, which gives me what? 6. Do you get it? So now total has now been set to what? 6. Now it will move on to the 4 statement again. When it gets to 5, is 5 modulo 2 equal to 0? It is false. So it will skip it to the next line. So we move on to 6. Is 6 modulo 2 equal to 0? Yes, it is true. So it will now add 6 to 6. Because at this point, we've gotten to 6. And the total has been set to what? 6. So 6 plus 6 equals to what? 12. Now it move on to the next one. Is 7 modulo 2 equal to 0? False. So it move on to the next value, which is 8. Is 8 modulo 2 equal to 0? Yes. 8 modulo 2 is equal to 0. So to now add the 12, which is the new total value, to num, which is what? 8. So you are going to get what? 20. Same way until you get to 30. You get it? So this is what I mean by the for loops when it comes to using for loops with conditional statements, right? We've done quite a lot today. We've really worked on loops, right? I was thinking that we would get ample time to explain what functions are, right? But then what I would say is that next time in our session, we've already spent about We've already spent about 1 hour 20 minutes already. So next time we are going to explain functions. We are going to explain functions, and then we see how we can apply it in Python programming. It's a very simple concept, though we can finish in about 40 minutes. Yes, so I wouldn't want to overwhelm you guys. I just want you guys to understand what loops are. Sometimes if you don't take care, if you don't really pay attention, you would end up making a lot of mistakes. Right? So if I hadn't paid attention, even me the instructor, if I hadn't paid attention very well, I would have ended up making a lot of mistakes. You get it? Good. So I'll give you more examples for you guys to try your hands on. And I believe that when you try your hands on a lot of examples, you will be able to understand things better. Right. Yeah, thank you very much for participating in today's lesson. I hope to see you in tomorrow's session where we are going to talk about functions. Yes. So thank you very much once again. Have a nice day.